Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. I'm your host. There's a by-election in Manitoba, and Jagmeet Singh has taken an opportunity to do some of his platform there. And the by-election is for MP Blakey, who resigned last year after trying to take a run at Pierre Poilievre, who resigned so that he could go into provincial politics, probably in a province where the NDP are in charge. So he probably felt like he was going to make a stronger impact. What was greasy about his move is that he said some very unparliamentary things about ass kissing and all kinds of stuff. And then when they said, hey, he's not allowed to talk that way, that ain't right, he stood up and said, well, I resign. Like this is how he planned on going out, right? That he just wanted to take a run at people. It was really kind of weak. Then he resigned, and now his seat has been vacated, so they have to have a by-election. Jagmeet Singh has taken the opportunity to put the individual that has been nominated by the NDP for this by-election, to introduce him outside of one of his grocery stores. These must be up to 10 grocery stores right now. And what's important is the copycat of this, right? First, he wants to talk about how many people he's going to make this girl talk about how many people are coming to the food bank, which is the Conservatives have been saying now for more than a year. Then he's going to talk about how somebody's putting fuel on the inflationary fire, which the Conservatives have been talking about since COVID. In addition to that, he's going to mention how people can't enjoy their summer. They can't have time with their families because things are so expensive, which is something the Conservatives spent the last month of the session trying to get the carbon tax removed for the summer. And lastly, Pierre Poilievre makes a lot of announcements from gas station parking lots, and Jagmeet Singh has just decided to do it from grocery store parking lots. It is blatant. It's pathetic. And it's astounding to me that this guy even has double digits popularity. However, before I get into it, I would encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this channel with all of your socials. I have memberships, and I have an open GoFundMe so that I can upgrade my equipment. Okay, so like I said, there's an MP for this by-election in Manitoba, and you're going to hear her talk. Well, you can decide for yourself if you've heard her message anywhere at all before.
My name is Leila Dance. I'm the NDP candidate for Elmwood Transcona in the next by-election. The reality is 1 in 5 Canadians are skipping meals they can't afford because of the cost of groceries. We know Manitobans are accessing food banks more than ever now. We need to look at our receipts after we're shopping and wonder how so few groceries could cost so much money.
You've admitted that the Conservatives are right, that there are too many people going to the food banks, and that's a problem of the NDP Liberal government. I don't think the woman read the speech before it was handed to her. Could she have really thrown herself on the fire just like that? Just like completely say, well, here I am trying to get a federal elected to the for the NDP, a seat that was vacated by the individual. And in return, I'm going to say this message about how, well, basically, I'm just going to take the Conservative message and call it my own. Unbelievable. She couldn't have known what it was, or she wouldn't have tripped over it, right? If she had written it herself, the introduction. Okay, now Jagmeet comes up and says what can only be considered plagiarism, in my opinion. I mean, I get that that's a bit of extreme, the word, but you get my point. I mean, there's nothing original. It's all taken directly from the Conservative platform.
So we just went grocery shopping. And like Lilo was saying, when you go in to the grocery store, it feels every time you go in, you're so worried about how much things are going to cost. Because every time you go in, it feels like things cost more. And you're right, they do. We just went in. I'm going to pull up my receipt now. We just went in and bought 3 items. For 3 items, our total came to over $35, just for 3 items. We got a watermelon, staple for the summer. You think summertime, we're gonna eat a watermelon. Watermelon cost $9. We got also some tomatoes, just a regular kind of bunch of tomatoes, $8 for these tomatoes. And then one of the staples for a lot of people, that's okay, we can let it go. We'll get it afterwards. One of the staples is olive oil. Olive oil right now, this costs $18 for the olive oil. I mean, these are astronomical prices. This is tough. And this is just one day. Families are going to have to grocery shop regularly every week. They're going in and they're feeling like, how do I buy enough food for my family? And a lot of people are making tough choices. They're saying, you know what, maybe I can't have that family gathering that we normally have. Maybe I can't have that barbecue. It's just going to cost too much. And the fact that people in Canada, people in Winnipeg, are having to make decisions where they don't have gatherings, where they don't get those special treats, they don't have those special gatherings because they can't afford their groceries.
So if I understand you correctly, MP Singh, you're saying that because people are spending too much money on the basics, on the essentials of life, they can't afford to have any family time. They can't afford to have any gatherings. It's too bad that we didn't have somebody with the power to call a federal election. Oh, wait.
Is a problem. But people are paying the price. People are hurting. And Pierre Poilievre wants to pour fuel on the fire.
Unbelievable.
Our proposal is this. Let's force these corporate grocery stores to lower the price of essential items. And if they don't, impose a price cap. With that, thank you so much for being here and looking forward to your questions.
So he wants to impose a price cap. Why don't we just remove some of the expenses that people are going through? Now, I'll just let you hear one more foolish thing, and then I'll give you my 2 cents worth.
With that, thank you so much for being here and looking forward to your questions. Okay, we're going to do that in French, and then I'll look forward to your questions.
First of all, let me address the French thing because I left it in there on purpose. He thought it was pretty funny, but the problem is that it's not that French is the second language in Canada. It's the fact that it's Manitoba. And though they don't see themselves as being Quebecois, they absolutely see themselves as being Francophone. It is, after all, the traditional home of the Métis. You know, Louis Riel, he fought a rebellion. He took on all kinds of members of the government, various governments, depending on which direction that you wanted to come through, had to run away into Saskatchewan. It's called the Red River Rebellion. You should look it up. 45% of Manitoba speaks French. And this guy can't even remember that. And he wants to be prime minister of the country. He can't even remember that. As for him talking about how people are lined up at food banks and how people can't afford to have a summertime and how the cost of food is through the roof. Tomatoes in Canada, if those were even grown in Canada. See, a lot of times they're grown in Mexico, and what people think is, oh, those are Mexican, but really what they are is Canadian or American money that buys up land in Mexico to pay for cheap labor and then ships it to Canada to sell it in Canada. It's a multinational corporation that's doing it. It's not allowing the little guy. Why do our grocery stores never have locally grown produce in them? Why do we always got to go to a farmer's market, which are heavily regulated? Now, I get that there perhaps is some legislation that needs to be passed, but certainly it is against the monopoly. It's about the fact that we should be putting tariffs on Mexican grown tomato, cucumber, all of the whole bunch of things, because they're not really grown by local farmers. Those guys can't afford to ship it up here in a truck. They sell it locally. The people that can put it in greenhouses and move it up here by a truck, they're corporations, and they directly supply their various individuals. However, watermelons are not grown in Canada, not really. There are some parts, maybe southern Ontario, British Columbia, perhaps. They require a lot of heat, and in Canada, that would require a lot of carbon. Now, I know that we are taking, you would think in your mind, well, let's just take all of the carbon that we're throwing into the ground and we could just give it to anyone who owns a greenhouse. Have carbon, we got it, just pull up, we'll fill you up and you can put it in your greenhouse as you like. But again, it comes back to people like, people who own multinational corporations, who work for multinational corporations. They are the ones that are pushing this agenda. I mean, really, why do we not have just a sea of greenhouse? They can grow bananas in Iceland in a greenhouse. And why can't we grow cheap food up north? Anyway, that's a different video. What I wanted to point out to you in this video is how tone deaf Jagmeet Singh is and how completely shameless he is in his absolute ripoff of the conservative message. He totally, completely just plagiarized everything that the conservatives have been saying for 2 years. And what I want to understand is how did he do it without, he didn't even look embarrassed. I mean, you almost want to be embarrassed for him. You certainly want to feel sorry for that girl who thinks that she's going to be, might be a federal member of the new Democratic Party. And I'll leave the olive oil alone, but I know that we grow olive oil in, the Mediterranean. Yeah, you can get it from California, but people in Canada don't really buy it from California. We buy it from the Mediterranean. So those guys are all under carbon tax as well. And it seems to me that where the costs are rising, we could save a lot of money if we just cut the gas. Okay, just remembered one thing. Jagmeet Singh keeps talking about how the corporations are making record profits, but we're also at record population. And when you only have a couple of grocery stores in the whole country, I think it's 4 that own all of the grocery stores in the whole entire country. And then in the last 4 years, you've added what? Nearly 4 million people. It's 100,000 new people every month. Where are they buying their groceries? So clearly they're going to be turning a profit. Clearly they're going to be making record profits because we have record population, and record population still need to eat, even though you don't have any place for them to live. But all of this could be solved, Mr. MP Singh. All of this could be fixed right away if you simply walk in and say, I don't have any confidence in our supply and confidence agreement. I don't agree with the way that your behavior is. I don't think that sticking behind you and supporting your decisions, Mr. Trudeau and all of your support staff, I don't agree with your policies. So it's time for Canadians to have an election. And then at least we could bring much of this to a screeching halt, because once you remove the carbon tax, inflation will drop out. And once you remove the carbon tax, people will start to be able to grow things in their own house. And once you can grow things in their own house, prices will have to come down because you won't necessarily have to go directly to the grocery store. That's just my opinion. You can give me your opinion down in the comments. Okay, I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you all for listening. I'll talk to you next time.